Allah, and prayers and blessings be on our beloved Prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Welcome, my brothers, to a new dars in our series, Scenes from the Life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm very happy to see these beautiful faces. May Allah unite us in Jannah in the company of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. So from the wonderful things that Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam had in his character was his humbleness. No matter what status he reached to, he always stayed humble in front of Allah Azza wa Jal and in front of his companions when dealing with them. One of the incidents that was narrated by Ibn Majah in his Sunan, and Shaykh al-Albani said that it is Sahih, that Abu Mas'ud Uqba ibn Amr radiyallahu anhu said, once a man came to Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam in order to talk to him. And while he was talking to Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, the man started to tremble in front of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. So in order for Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam to comfort the man, he said to him, "Be calm, for I am not a king, but rather I am a son of a woman that used to eat dried meat." Now Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he was in a time that the kings were known to be harsh and unjust toward their people. And this man thought that Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam was like these type of people, like Heraclius from the Byzantine Empire and the leader of the Persian Empire, Kisra. So these two men were known to be very harsh with their people, and they never gave the rights of the people, but rather they used to see them as slaves and servants to them. But Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam was not like them. So Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam used a fact that he is a son of a woman. He used that fact to get closer to the man, because all humans are sons of women. No matter what status they reach, they will always be from a womb of a woman. And he also added to that his mother used to eat dried meat, meaning that they were not rich. Because if they were rich, they would have had fresh meat whenever they wanted. But this shows that he knew what beginnings he was from. He was humble, telling people about his beginnings, and he was never ashamed from. Another incident that was narrated by Al-Hakim in his Mustadrak, that Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu said that when Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam opened Mecca during the conquest, when he was going through the city in the beginning of it, he had his chin on the camel out of humbleness towards Allah Azza wa Jal. Instead of coming in to the city after 8 years from leaving the city, instead of coming in with his head up high to show the pride and honor in front of the people that kicked him out of the city, that forced him to leave the city that was dear to him, the people that fought him for several years, around 21 years since he declared his prophethood. Yet he did quite the opposite. What he did is he put his chin to the camel to show the people that no matter of high status he reached, because he became the undisputable leader of the Arabian Peninsula, of the Arabian people, of the Muslims specifically. Yet he was always humble in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. He was thanking Allah Azza wa Jal for the blessing that He gave him to be able to open the city, to spread the da'wah of Islam. When we look at ourselves on the other hand, we see that when someone reaches to a certain status or starts to have some money, instead of them being humble like Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam and taking him as a role model in this, we start becoming arrogant. We start to boast about the stuff that we own, about the houses and the cars the money and the businesses and the jobs that we have. Instead of being humble towards Allah Azza wa Jal and being humble with our brothers and our friends, we become boastful and arrogant. We should learn from Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam the meanings of humbleness and being thankful towards the blessings that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us. Because if it wasn't for Allah Azza wa Jal, we would never have anything. If it wasn't for the rizq that Allah Azza wa Jal provides for us, we would never be able to eat or drink or have a roof on top of our heads. Another incident that was narrated by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim in their Sahihain, that Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu said, once I asked the servant that was in front of the house of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam to enter upon Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. And Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam accepted. So when I came in, I found Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam laying on a mat that was made out of the leaves of palm trees. And these type of mats are known for its roughness. And there wasn't a cover on this mat. So this mat was directly on the skin of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. When Umar ibn Khattab entered, he saw the lines that was on the face of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam on his body from this rough mat. So when Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he saw that with his eyes, he started crying from the condition that Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam was living in. So Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam asked Umar ibn Khattab, why are you crying? So Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he replied by saying, Hercules and Kisra are living in the pleasures of this life. And yet you, O Prophet of Allah, you are living in this condition. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam responded to him by saying, aren't you satisfied that they get the pleasures of this world while we get the pleasures of the hereafter? Subhanallah. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, even though he lived in that condition, he was content. He was waiting for the hereafter in order for him and his ummah to live in the eternal pleasure. To live in Jannah, where you would never think about losing these pleasures, and you would stay in there for eternity, forever, for infinity. When these people live in these pleasures, it's limited. They never know when they can lose it. And if they kept it for all of their lives, when the angel of death is going to come, he's going to take all of these pleasures away from them. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam knew exactly the meaning of this. And this is why he was content when he was living at that condition. But let us also remember that Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he chose to live in this condition. It wasn't a condition that was enforced upon him. Because whenever Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam would receive any rizq, he would spend that in the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. He would give it out in charity to his companions, to support his companions. Another way we can look at it is Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam chose this kind of life in order for him to be humble in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, also to be close to the companions that he was living with in Medina. Because when the companions see that their leader is living in a whole other status, in a whole prestigious way of life, they would feel a gap between them. But when Rasulullah ﷺ lived the same life that they lived in, had the same struggles that they had, they feel more connected with him. They feel more closer with Rasulullah ﷺ. So looking at his life, we should try to learn from him. To thank Allah Azza wa Jal for the blessings that He gave us, and to be humble. No matter what status we reach to, we always be humble in front of Allah Azza wa Jal and with our brothers and friends that we're living in together in this community. And remember that the way of Rasulullah ﷺ is the way to Jannah. Thank you for listening. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.